Well, welcome, fans and foes, viewers and haters. It's me, your cinema simpleton, and these days, Hollywood can't fool an idiot. And we're going to prove that by looking back on 2011's year of movies. Never really done one of these before, but I figure it was worth a shot. And it's especially a good time because it's just towards the middle of December, and Oscar season has sort of hit, but some of the big takers, that are really rumored for stuff, like Hugo, Adventures of Tintin, I believe, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, they haven't really made their ground level marks. I'm really looking forward to seeing The War Horse, but I'm wanting to check out some Oscar stuff, but I wanted to also look at back on the best and worst movies of 2011 and just show you kind of my appreciation of what kind of movies I like. I do kind of go for the blockbusters. I'm not going to lie. It's just, the adrenaline pumping action stuff, but they can have emotional stuff to them that is valuable. There is merit in it. And I think that it's drastically overlooked. And I think that Hollywood doesn't look at it with as much appreciation, and there's proof that it can work. So I'm going to look at some of those things. Right now I'm going to talk about the best, and then you'll hear my ranting and raving with the worst. So let's start with Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. This one was the first movie, I think... No, it wasn't the only movie I saw in 3D this year, but I saw this in 3D, saw it with my scene points for free, because I still think that there's no reason that 3D should cost extra. So this was a really interesting movie. I liked what they did to kind of mold this entire thing. The majority of this movie being about the battle for Hogwarts, really showing these characters who we've known for so well over the years being thrown straight into the fury and the frenzy of this giant war. You feel like all the action is hitting them from all sides. You're feeling the emotional weight everywhere with all the losses, with all of the things going around them, the pain of just the suffering. It really makes you feel like you're in the middle of a war zone. And it was a total almost perfect capping off of the Harry Potter franchise. And I think the style of the films that have started since, I believe, Prisoner of Azkaban is really where they started to decide where they wanted to take the rest of the series. I think that this was a perfect way of being able to do that, and I really was blown away with the performances of everybody in the cast. The direction was so great. The music was awesome. Visual effects were stunning. And it was probably one of the only 3D movies, like I said, I don't go to a lot of 3D movies, but one of the few 3D movies I liked that actually bettered, is bettered a word? It improved the experience, so I thought it was good. Next, we're going to talk about Captain America: The First Avenger. Now, I've noticed with this year that there's been a lot of interesting, what I call concept movies. Now, you can have a really interesting idea in the screenplay, in the pitch to the studio, and it can still end up really, really bad. And I'm going to mention that when I talk about the first, or one of the movies, because I don't know the order yet. One of the movies in my worst 2011. But Captain America. Now, imagine you're pitching this to a studio. It's a World War II movie. It involves mythical alien god Norse science. And it's about a super steroid guy who is fighting a Red Skull rogue Nazi. And it's all got this futuristic technology. I don't know. It's got sort of that Flash Gordon type feel. And really, when you think of all the stuff that's incorporated into this film, it's one of the best Marvel movies that the studio has put out in years. Really. I thought it was brilliant the way that they brought everything to life. Yeah, they might have spread the cast a little thin, but in comparison to movies like Iron Man 2 or Thor, I think this did a better job than it did with Thor's cast, because they decided that these guys are important, so we're going to give them depth. And it was just beautiful the way they did it. Not too much of this film felt too far-fetched. And I think just in the references to the other works of Marvel, they were able to make it so much more potent than the Captain America 1990 movie. and really one of the best movies I've seen of 2011. Now I'm going to talk about X-Men First Class. Now, I don't know what it is, but Matthew Vaughn, he directed this, he directed Kick-Ass, he directed Stardust. I don't know what this guy does, but almost every movie that I watch of his, I'm immediately watching all over again. I have no idea what it is. He's just got so much charm in the visuals, in the script, in the pacing. Just so much is like tucked just under the corner of the carpet, if you know what I mean, in the script, that you can just pick up and learn something else. It really does keep you, like, there is so much rewatch value. And I think X-Men First Class, not just a story about, you know, the beginnings of Charles Xavier and Eric Lenscher and their, like, you know, the X-Men and the Brotherhood, but just the mythology itself. He was able to really just show a lot of great stuff in the mythology and adapt it into a great way with the Cold War and just this whole, you know, issue of like mutants kind of popping up and really just taking it from a very interesting perspective, because it almost felt like it was a movie being told through Magneto's eyes. And most of the time, you're shown with some sympathy towards Magneto, but I don't think you've really gotten to the point where you're just in front of the line of stepping over onto Magneto's perspective and completely going on his side. So I thought this was a great way of just being able to show how incredibly gray Magneto is. And, you know, the just showing that there really isn't, I don't think there was a single side in here that they didn't say, okay, that they didn't show as being completely out of proportion. It was all based in some solid ground, some solid reality. And I thought that they were really able to do a great job, make it exciting, make it interesting, and rewatchable. Probably, I would say that this is the most rewatchable movie I've seen this year. And I bought it on DVD, and it was totally worth the money. Now on to my favorite comedy of the year. I did not see Bad Teacher, because I thought that it was like... okay, I'm not saying that I hate Cameron Diaz or Justin Timberlake or anything like that, but I'm saying, oh my gosh, a teacher who's got some unorthodox methods? Hollywood, you've done it again! Like, you've literally done it again. This is something we've seen like 80 times, like every year. So I didn't understand what the hype was for it. I'll probably watch it, but I saw Horrible Bosses because, ironically, my last boss was really cool. And I saw Horrible Bosses with a couple of friends. We never had so much fun in probably, like, all year. It was so cool. It was like, they do all the things that you think that your boss would do. Like, they take everything that you would have as a boss, all those mannerisms that just get you so mad, and then they make it like, if you think that your boss is evil, like, you could walk into your workplace thinking your boss is gonna, you know, gonna crack out the whip, literally crack out the whip. You haven't seen nothing until you see what the script is full of in this thing. And they show all the things that you can... There's not a single joke that they didn't take advantage of. And all of these guys, not just... I believe it's Jason Bateman from Arrested Development, but all of these guys... I forget what the guy's name is. The guy his boss was trying to hit on him all the time. His boss was played by Jennifer Aniston. This guy was such a hidden jewel because he was brilliant. He really was. It was just so cool. Like, he got all the best lines. It was awesome watching this guy. I really recommend watching this movie. And it was my favorite comedy. Now, this is my favorite movie of the year. So far. Like, I haven't seen any of the Oscars, but so far this is my favorite blockbuster of the year. I'm going to give my favorite movie of 2011 to Super 8. I don't know what it is about, you know, nostalgia, but it's such a kind of close to home feeling. And J.J. Abrams teaming up with Steven Spielberg, it really felt like it felt like a modern day pairing of, the Goonies, how they picked Richard Donner and Steven Spielberg. It felt like that all over again when I was watching this movie. I saw it with my dad because he's a big Steven Spielberg buff too. It felt like almost you had been thrown back into time in that era of movies, but it didn't feel too distant. Like, it didn't feel like you were just being read a storybook or anything like that. It was so interesting the way that they were able to take all these elements and make it so relatable to our generation, because if you just did it from that perspective, then you would feel like so lagged behind. Like you literally felt like you brushed this thing off, you brushed off a film reel and just shown it in the theater. But no, they were able to really adapt the script into making it just beautiful. It was a beautiful piece, really exciting. I love the element of mystery and the way that, I don't know what it is about Spielberg. He's able to make kids so like lovable all over again, but and not in like, the Disney way, just, like relatably lovable, and just make them exciting, give them some balls. Totally sounds wrong. But that it was just able to really, I don't know, it was Spielberg magic all over again. And I honestly thought we had lost that years ago, but he was able to do a great job with it. And J.J. Abrams really did, I think, godfather this project. And I thought it was awesome. They both had their own creative license with it. They were able to, J.J. Abrams has his director trademarks, Spielberg has his own, and they were able to balance it without making it feel like two different people were trying to make two different movies. So Super 8 is my favorite movie of the year so far. So that's it for now. I'm going to be talking about my worst, and you will hear me roaring mad in the next video. So take care, you guys. I hope you have a good rest of the year, and don't get too drunk on New Year's, because that's my job.